Jake Giffen Podcast.
Your virtual lab for inside-out transformation into the man God intended you to be.
Here, we use modern psychological concepts and spiritual tools to help you align your mind and machine to dominate your God-given mission. So put your purses down and your excuses away. Here's your coach, Jake Giffen.
Welcome. You know, if you guys only knew the opportunities that are in front of you, I'm talking about the crazy amount of opportunities that are abundant. Look, this might be a cool podcast episode to kind of tell you a little bit about myself, because this is going to span a long time. I remember I am 50 years old. I know. I don't seem like it. I don't look like it. I'm a fit individual. I love Jesus. He's keeping me young. I'm battling sin as much as I can. I am in it, man. I am in this thing, and I'm wiser than ever. But you know, in my lifetime, Generation X, in my lifetime, the playing video games at home was born in my lifetime. No, I'm not even kidding. We played Atari, what is it, like 2600, and it was like Pac-Man, and it was 8 bits. We played Combat. Combat was cool. It was like tanks, and you can bounce bullets off walls. It was incredibly fun. And can I tell you that at that time, even we had Atari, and then the emergence of something called Intellivision, and there was all kinds of units that came out, and then game developers took off. And can I tell you, I'm in that era. This is the same era, by the way, the same people who in the generation previous and overlapping my generation now by maybe, I don't know, a couple decades or so, had the same job at the same company for 40 years, got a pension and retired and got a nice pat on the butt and said, "Thanks for all your service, buddy." And they rode off into the sunset, fairly comfortable. Now that generation was the generation that raised me. And that was the mentality. You get a good job, you get a good education, you get a good job, you go work for a company, and you retire. Now, why do I conflate the two? So you have the video game thing, because parents were, you're never going to make a living playing video games. Right? All right. And then you got to get a good job. They were wrong on all of it. And my generation saddles two opposites, which is get a good job, stay there for 40 years, get a pension. Well, that died. That's dead, because the pension program, no matter where you are, no matter what you do, pensions run out. Right? So, I mean, you can have, let's say you had 10 employees and you had a nice pension system. That means when they retired, they got their full pay or 80% of their pay for the remainder of their life. So you have 10 employees, 3 of them retire. That means you have 7 now employees working that have to do the work that'll pay for 10 employees. Now, arguably, you invested the money over time, and that's reaping some semblance of dividends that are helping pay for the pension. But lo and behold, somebody took the money and used it for something else. And now there's no money in the pension. And even if there were money in the pension fund, there's not enough. There's not enough for the 3 people. So then you replace the 3 people, you go back to 10 employees, and you have now 10 employees working to support 13 guys. All right? Now fast forward another few years, now you have 5 people on pension, and you have 10 employees working to pay 15 guys. Okay. Fast forward again, you have like another 5 people. Let's say another 5 people retire, but your company didn't grow. just using this as a small model. You have now 10 guys in retirement and 10 guys working to pay for 20 guys because they all have to get paid 80% of their pay going into the future. Now, can you see how the pension system, if the money that they pay into the pension system is not invested properly, or if the economy changes, or if something happens to those funds, can you see how that would be a drag on a company? Well, as it would be a drag on a company long term, it is a drag on a city or a state or the federal government. And so pensions went away. Big companies went away from pensions. There was no more companies long term. They weren't interested in long term employees. They were interested in whatever employees they have for the moment that will be the most beneficial and the most profitable for the moment. So you get into a company for 20 years, and I've known big companies, Home Depot being one of them, that guys were there for 20, 25 years, they fired. Now, I don't know what you do when you're 55 years old and you've worked for Home Depot for 25 or 30 years and you get fired. Where do you go? All right, maybe you go to Lowe's, whatever. The point is that there was some semblance of loyalty. There was an understood loyalty between employer and employee. Well, that died. That died well into my development as a human being. What emerged in my development as a human being? Well, the internet. Yeah, I can remember a time when the internet did not exist. I remember a time cell phones didn't exist. The internet didn't exist. Oh, the wonderful times. You people have no idea. What do you mean, you people? You people have no idea the peace that comes from not being connected to the internet and not having cell phones. You have no idea what that's like. It was so good. It was so good. Playing outside, riding my bike, getting in trouble, whatever, man. We were physical. We had tight friendships. We were good. Now, that was a different era. Now, the internet's emerging, and the internet has emerged as a marketplace that has provided now millions of opportunities for those who are in the generation after mine, right? X generation's in the middle, man. Like the real smart guys got on Facebook and they started leveraging that for business. And I'm not that smart, dude. I am dumb, right? I didn't think you could leverage social media for business. Now, of course, I'm 20 years into social media, and because I didn't think of it as a business opportunity. That's the theme of today's episode. I didn't think of it as an opportunity, so I just screwed around with it a little bit here, a little bit there, no big deal. At the time when I was old enough where I could have put a lot of energy into it and built up a good following, and that audience would be providing for me today from a business standpoint, and I would have a digital footprint that would be garnering me some income to where I could live anywhere I wanted. That was an opportunity that I missed. I was not aware of it. I was not conscious of it. Now, I don't know what for whatever reason, but I didn't grow up in a great house. My mom, God bless her soul, she's a survival type, right? But my dad left before I was born. He came back somewhere around the time I was 6 or 7, and then he died when I was 10. So that sucked. About a year after he died, 1981. You guys don't know what 81 feels like. It was a different era, son. You know what I'm saying? It was like a good time. 1981, the A-Team is on television. My mom comes in and says, my dad died. Now, I assumed immediately that he just left. Well, because why wouldn't he have left? You know what I'm saying? He left before I was born. Why wouldn't he leave now? I know there's tension between you two. I didn't say that out loud, but that's how I felt. About a year later, my mom decides she wants to be a lesbian. All right. So Great. So there goes all my dreams and hopes of having a man in the house that'll teach me how to do this man thing. Right? Because I don't freaking know what I'm doing with this man thing. Who knows how to be a man except a man? And who can build in wisdom to a young man and give him direction and say, look, here's the mistakes I made, and here's where you need to go, and here's the kind of things you need to think about, not necessarily where you need to go, but here's the kind of things you need to think about. And here is how to think. And here are some tools that I use. There's some wisdom in having a father figure right around that can give you some direction and say, hey, man, don't get distracted with girls. Don't get distracted with things that don't profit you. Don't get distracted with meaningless entertainment. Focus, figure out what you want to do with your life. Set a target out in front of you and do all that you can to achieve and hit that target. That's 1 week, that's 1 month, that's 6 months, a year, that's 2, 3, 5 years down the road. Now, then you would have a 5-year plan. Now you have like a 6-month plan, a 1-year plan. You're trying to keep it in smaller chunks because information moves faster now than it ever has before. So you want to try to keep up on these things. So look, everybody benefits from this. But even from the time I was 16, 17 years old, I'm on my own. I got to get a job. I got to figure out how to make money. I was too insecure to go to college initially, without, doing it before when you had to go to college in person, right? Even before you could get college courses mailed to you, right? Which is eventually what I ended up doing for Bible college. But so I was in survival mode. How do I make money? How do I do this? So I get a job. I want to look any way I want. So I want to pierce my nose and my eyebrow. I want to wear earrings. I want to have long hair, and I want to wear leather, and I want to bang my head, and I want to play my guitar, and I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. How can I do that? Well, telemarketing. So I'm going to get into telemarketing. When I get into telemarketing, 3 years, not necessarily doing anything wrong, but the companies apparently were not on the up and up, whatever. I get married to my beautiful wife. You who know me know her. Got married in 96. The day after our wedding, I was supposed to go to work, but no. I got federally indicted on telemarketing on wire and mail fraud charges because I worked for a company that apparently was crooked, and I was not going to testify against the owners because I did not know what I was being told was true or not true. So I wasn't going to lie. And since I gave my life to Jesus in 1994 and I got indicted in 1996, well, I'm not going to lie. So first 2.5 years of our marriage, I'm in federal prison. So it's always in this survival mode. Maybe that's the reason I didn't see the opportunities that maybe a lot of the younger men and women right now are seeing. Maybe some of even my generation, the X generation, the best generation, if you ask me. We got to see grunge come in and kill hair bands. There's a drive-by shooting, just this gnarly group of guys who showed up from Seattle and smoked all the sex, drug, and rock and roll hair bands and then rode off into the sunset like nothing ever happened. That was an experience. So this is the best generation. Now, some people in my generation were smart. They leveraged what they needed to leverage. They saw the opportunities and they capitalized upon them. If I come out of jail, I want to be a pastor. So I want to be a pastor. All right, cool. Survival mode though still, because right now I ain't got no family that's going to taking care of me and Carly. Carly's been on her own now for 2.5 years, by the way. And now we got to jump in, try to make some headway. I got a goal now and be a pastor. So I'm going to I got my Bible college mostly behind me. I'm going to go to Calvary Chapel School of Ministry. I'm going to learn how to do this pastoral thing. I'm learn some more Greek, Hebrew, apologetics, and go through the whole thing. 2 years, boom. And they say, you should not have a job while you're going to the School of Ministry because you should just be around here serving. Now, had I been around there serving, instead of having gotten a job like they said not to do, Maybe my life would have taken a different trajectory. I don't know. But I didn't because I had to make money. Survival mode. And when you're in survival, it's all that to say this. Oh, pity, Jake. There's no pity. That's not what I'm saying this for. That is not why I'm saying this. All that to say this, that if you are constantly in survival mode, distracting yourself with all the things that are around you, all the pretty, shiny things, you don't set goals, you will not see the opportunities that present themselves. And they are abundant. They are abundant, mostly online. Now, what is an emerging opportunity that's coming up? Web3, for those of you who know, Web3 is an emerging technology. Is it? Now, am I thinking about this early enough? Am I thinking about how to get into it early enough? Do I understand it? And I certainly do not. But it's there. It's a little fledgling. It's a little sprout. Web3 is just like a little sprout right now. And you don't know if it's going to get scorched by the sun and die, or if it's going to grow into this massive thing akin to the internet, or the next version of the internet, we should say. And what will live there? Well, what will live there is going to be virtual reality when because technology is growing and it's growing exponentially. It's getting exponentially better. AI is going to start teaching other AI, and they're training and they're going to get better screens and better headsets and lighter headsets with better visuals and better optics, so it doesn't make you sick when you're inside the Web3, when you're inside the virtual reality. All these things are developing kind of right next to each other, adjacent to one another. And out of it is going to emerge a whole new economy. We're not talking about headsets. We're talking about full haptic suits. We're talking about not even haptic suits. Let's be honest, man. If you guys are forward thinking like me, or I try to be now after making all those mistakes I previously just told you about, after being in survival mode, now I'm looking ahead to these opportunities. Elon Musk has Neuralink. Neuralink is when they embed a chip into your head and use it to help you move around. It's going to be used for diseases and kind of different things at first, but hey, eventually it's going to be something that you have implanted into your head. You won't need a haptic suit. Now, between now and then, there's going to be haptic suits and there's going to be pods and there's going to be different things. Make your life comfortable while you're plugged in. Once Neuralink comes, you're just going to need a nice, cushy pod. Now, tell me, man, if Lazy Boy's not thinking about this by now, they make the most comfortable chairs. They should be the first one to the pod market. You know what I'm saying? But it's there. Pods, comfortable. Now, what else are you going to need? You're going to need nourishment, because some of these fools aren't coming out of that pod. You know, some of you introverted, awkward, you don't want to meet girls type of guys. You're going to just sit in this pod all day and all night. You're not even going to want to get out to get food because you don't know what survival really is. So you're going to sit in this pod and you need some way of getting nourishment. That's where companies come in. Put a little IV in your arm, check your fluids, do all that stuff so you can stay connected, so you don't have to leave the pod. They're going to have upgraded pods. They're going to have the lazy man's pod if you're poor. They're going to have pods that'll work out your muscles for you while you're laying in the pod, getting intravenously fed by tubes and getting water. There's going to be security that's needed over your house because while you're in the pod, guess where you're not? You're not in reality. Right. So there's a lot of things coming up in the Web3 example, a lot of ancillary and adjacent industries that are going to develop. To the young guys out there, there are opportunities literally everywhere. And I had the mind set to observe these opportunities I would have been able to capitalize on. Maybe I get it on Web3, but I missed it on the internet. And maybe I didn't miss it completely. I'm working on stuff now that hopefully will get me caught up, but that's not the point. The point is I have to catch up. When I was already there at the beginning, I could have had thousands or millions of, online following, online digital products, those things that I'm working on now. So anyway, opportunities. Do you know what's really good at finding opportunities? Identifying opportunities? Sin. In Romans chapter 7, it says that sin recognizes opportunities. Man, if that doesn't freak you out a little bit, that means as you're going about life, whether you're in survival mode or you're seeing the opportunities, you're consciously active at looking at the opportunities around you. As you're going about, you have certain desires that reside in your flesh, and sin is watching you to see where the cracks in your armor are. It's watching you to see where the opportunity for it to affect you can happen. Usually when Paul's talking in Romans 7, he says that sin, seizing an opportunity through the commandment. Right. But that's not the point of this podcast. The point of this podcast is to tell you that sin can recognize opportunities to influence you. Sin can recognize opportunities to influence you and can, with enough nudging and enough little, a little bit of nudge here, a little bit of nudge there. Next thing you know, you're questioning your whole entire relationship with God and with reality and with everything else. Because you compromised just a little. It recognized it and slowly capitalized on it. Sin seizes an opportunity, which means it can recognize an opportunity and then seize upon it. Man, that should freak you out. That should freak you out every time you see a pretty girl and your mind starts running crazy. You should just recognize that as if sin sees you do that, which it has, if sin sees you do that, it will seize upon it. And then you'll have that desire more and more and more and more. And what will happen? Eventually, sin will blind you, suck you into survival mode of some sort or another, get you focused on your self-indulgent desires. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to satisfy the flesh. I'm distracted, I can't concentrate. I don't pray, I don't meditate, I don't go to church. I don't serve my fellow man. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm just so distracted, and eventually you see the opportunities go by. Now, I was distracted with survival mode. I didn't see the opportunity. And I didn't give close enough weight to the influence of sin that can recognize opportunities and seize upon it. And I didn't think about sin wanting me dead. Life takes on a whole different level when you know something is hunting you and wants you dead. Dude, you don't go out of the house the same way anymore when you know something or somebody wants you dead. There is something you don't leave, that you don't enter the car. You ever get in your car? And you ever watch those mafia movies? You get in the car and the guy looks at the key and he goes to turn the key because he doesn't know what's going to happen when he turns the key. Yeah. That's what happens, my guy. You get so wrapped up and you forget, I didn't know that something was hunting me. That something wanted me dead? I never thought about it. Here's what I thought about. Because this is what my pastors and the people that I hung out with said. They made it all about behavior, right? And it is about behavior. You don't want, sin is a behavior, but sin is also something that hunts you. I hung out with men for way too long and leaders way too long that made excuses like, well, we're all just sinners, right? I don't think so. I don't think Jesus saved us, died on the cross, was buried, and rose 3 days later so that we can continue to identify with our sins. I don't think he did that. I don't think that's how he meant it. So, all that to say this, that wherever you are right now, there's two things that you need to be aware of. You need to be aware of the opportunities that are in front of you. What do you want your life to be like? What do you want your life at the end of your life? Because your life is going to come to an end sooner than you think it is. Sooner than you want it to be. Going to come to an end. And at the end of that life, how do you want to be remembered? What would you like to have accomplished, if anything? By the way, you're not under obligation to accomplish anything. If you don't want to, don't. Nobody's forcing you. Don't be lazy, but if you want to chill, and I don't know, consult God on it. That's what I'm saying. But there's no such thing as everybody's got to be ambitious and everybody's got to own a business and everybody's got to. Yeah, dude, you could be a farmer. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But how do you want your life to be? Because unless you set a target in front of you, something to aim at, something to achieve, a goal to pursue, you will not recognize the opportunities around you that lead to that goal. You will cut everything else off. Do this for me. You haven't thought about Volkswagens. Unless you drive one, you haven't thought about Volkswagens for probably ever, because who drives Volkswagen? But let's say we're going to pick on Volkswagen. I want you this week to just think of in your mind Volkswagen. And you go, yeah, I don't think right now I don't think I see very many Volkswagens on the road. Start thinking Volkswagen and tell me how many you recognize. What you set your mind to is what you will observe, and the opportunities will be therein. Seek the opportunities that God puts in front of you to walk in his steps, to walk in his manner, to have an influence in people's lives. Because everybody's called to have an influence in other people's lives, to disciple others. Those opportunities are there if you are conscious of them. So, set your mind to those opportunities. You will see them and they will lead one to another to another. And then be this aware that sin is watching you for opportunities that it can seize upon. And it is up to you not to give it any ammunition, not to give it any leverage, not to give it a foothold in your life by which it can start influencing you and leveraging you and compromising you. Man, what if I told you that I had a friend of mine who works at Alphabet, the parent company of Google. And he has just given me a list of everybody I go to church with, my small group, the guys I know, the guys my daughter knows. You know who you are. He gave me a whole list right now of your whole internet history. What you're scrolling on your phone, how often you're spending time on certain browsers. He's given me it all. How would you feel? sin knows that information. And sin will trap you into whatever habits and whatever patterns you are in right now that are not pleasing to God. Sin will attempt to trap you in it, to get you to identify with it so that you don't try to escape it. The elephant that's tied to the little tiny rope, it can break out. It doesn't. Why? Because it's accustomed to not breaking out. It's been trained that when something's around your leg, you're not allowed to move. It's amazing. And that's the same kind of that's what sin does. Every time you allow sin in your life to take opportunities and seize upon them, it is doing so at the expense of your own future, your own potential, your own opportunities. Well, look, I hope this was helpful. Opportunities. Silly rants on a Friday afternoon. That's what I'm saying. And I don't know what any of that had to do with when I was younger or when I was a kid. I just felt like telling you a little bit about myself this episode, but I hope it was somewhat amusing for you. And if it was, hit the like, hit a follow, leave me a review. You know what would really do bonkers? If you would go on wherever you're listening to this podcast, Spotify, Apple, wherever, it doesn't matter. It plays everywhere. Go to Apple and leave me a review. 5-star, right? 5-star. Leave me a 5-star review. Say something nice. Or don't say something nice. Say something mean. But leave a 5-star review in either case. See you next time.
If you enjoyed this show, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. For more information about Jake, log on to jakegiffen.com and find him on all social media platforms.
Until next time, peace and power be yours.